Good morning, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is David Okun. I'm talking about work in the United Kingdom. As always, I've been talking about this for a while. Watch this video, watch with the rest of the video in this series. I am in the United Kingdom, talking about work in the United Kingdom. If I talk about work in the United Kingdom, as I've always referred, it is always also the case, or it tends to be the case, that what happens in the United Kingdom tends to happen across the globe. I see this is particularly because of globalization. If you have heard anything about globalization, then you know countries, nation states are increasingly giving up their sovereignty in favor of globalization, the global system, which is nation states coming together to form one country, one world, worlds without border. It is extremely important in our modern age to know, understand, do a study of global system, of globalization. If you are a small child, if you are a young person, an adult, an elderly person, man, woman, black, white, rich, poor, we are creating a single world known as globalization, world without borders, where you no longer suffer the consequence of being in one country and struggling to cross over to another country, such as where you might be in a country in Africa and struggling to cross over into Europe or America or other part of the rich countries. We live in a world where rich people are increasingly trying to avoid poor people. And in many ways, normally we tend to associate wealth with white country, and in white country in Europe, in America, and also parts of Asia. Most of Asian countries are white also, and they are mostly developed. Actually, the world, in terms of wealth distribution, and also in terms of nations, can be described in terms of the color of skin colors, such as you find in Africa or in South America, Jamaica, and all these other countries. The blacker of skin you are, the poorer you are. Even black people living in white countries are poor, comparable to their white counterparts. Africa, being a black country, is the poorest in the world. You can almost measure whether or not somebody is rich or poor by the skin, by first checking on the skin of their colors. However, increasingly now, even in white countries, the disparity between rich and poor is increasing. Which means, although wealth is increasing, more wealth is being concentrated into the hands of the few. This wealth is being taken away from the hands of the many. So, going forward with capitalism as a system, and we have been looking at capitalism in many ways. I'm saying capitalism is responsible for social inequality also responsible for poverty being concentrated in among a certain type of people living in different parts of the world. And the same is the case. And this is wrong. I've already said about that. Governments should open their eyes to address the problem of poverty among the many and the concentrating of wealth among the few. We have seen this problem over and again, and my invitation is for people to look at our culture, re-examine its failures and successes, and take what we need to learn from our culture to improve the status of humanity, valuing humanity, respecting people, conducting progress, including development around humanity. Humanity becoming the center of the universe, of the world, of everything we do. We put humanity first. Then we begin to unlock opportunities to give us a treatment for lack of peace, violence, wars. We begin to unlock the resources to give us a chance for peace in the world. That is what I believe. Leave a comment below if you think what I'm saying is right. Leave a comment below also if you think what I'm saying is wrong. We are talking about work in the United Kingdom, in the legal sense of the word. Also looking at the policies in their specificities in the United Kingdom. We're looking at pay in particulars. We're looking at sick pay, which we started, I think, a few days ago. Sick pay. Today we are going to look at something called statutory sick pay. Whether it's a continuation of a theme on sick pay. Visit, if you live in the United Kingdom, visit gov.uk, and also visiting websites such as website of Citizen Advice, public's website of Citizen Advice. Citizen Advice is the biggest advice service in the United Kingdom. So by reference, also by inference, I would say, it is also the biggest advice service in the world. I'll leave a comment below if you know about Citizen Advice. If you don't, you can go online, regardless which continent, which part of the world you are. We live in a digitized world. The globe is changing. That's why I'm talking now on YouTube platform. This is new. It is on the increase. It's fast-paced. If you want to be a YouTuber, join it. If you have the basic of resources, mobile phone, with camera, this is the basic of skills. Just join it. Start recording what you like recording, what you don't like recording. Somebody else might like it, because more than 100 million people use YouTube every week or every day. Just check the information is online. I think every day. That is a lot of people, so many people. And there are about 8 billion people in the world. I'm not saying all of them are going to access YouTube channel, but this is actually on the increase. More people are accessing it. Big corporations are now opening their YouTube channels. So increasingly, if you are a small YouTube platform, YouTube channel, in the next 10 to 20 years, in my rough estimate, you may be um, you may drop out because we live in a modern world where if you have a project, it has to be big in order to survive because it's a market system. And let's go back to talk about pay in the United Kingdom. Talk about statutory sick pay. We also have something, an equivalent, or also something called contractual sick pay, which is a watering down, in my opinion, of statutory sick pay. Sometimes if you work for a living, you fall sick, and when you fall sick, you would expect to be paid statutory sick pay. This is a continuation. This video is a continuation. If you watch this video, watch the rest of the video on pay, particularly on sick pay. Continuing with this, leave a comment below if you haven't subscribed. Subscribe to this YouTube channel to support it. We are small. We need support. Subscribe. Subscription is free. Click like. Click notification bell to be alerted of every new video posted. Leave a comment. Let me learn your thinking, what you think. Leave a comment below in the comment box. Engaging with the channel if you're watching. Share with family and friends. Thank you so much. So you are working. You're being paid by your employer. You're falling sick. You're expecting statutory sick pay. Your employer says you're self-employed. And then you are trying to check to find out if you can get statutory sick pay. So you find out if you are paying income tax and you're also paying national insurance contribution. This being deducted from your pay by your employer. In most cases, under these circumstances, you might be eligible for statutory sick pay. These are telltale signs. It's almost like doing a detective work, especially if you are an advisor, or especially if you are seeking help from a professional advisor. If you need advice in the first place, it's normally better to do your own research so that you have an idea what kind of information you might be wanting, because these things are complex and an experienced eye of an advisor will be able to help you much better. So if you are advising someone also, you check this information. If there is a dispute and you are advising a client and your client is not being paid statutory sick pay by their employer, claiming your client to be self-employed, then one of the things you do is to check if their income tax, and national insurance are being deducted from their pay by their employer. Then you begin to form a picture in favor of your client, where there is a likelihood that they can get statutory sick pay. You should also ask your client if there are pay slips. Pay slips provide evidence of one kind or another, because if you're self-employed, the chances are that you're not going to be given pay slip. Check them for income tax, national insurance deduction, and if these are deducted, your client has evidence they are employed. They can challenge their employer to pay statutory sick pay. Leave a comment below. Let me know this situation existing with employer are producing really interesting sets of circumstances between employer and employee, and often leading to this dispute. So if you are an advisor, also check that your client can also ask HMRC to check the self-employed tax status. You are self-employed. You pay taxes to His Majesty Revenue and Customs Office, the tax office in other words. You're self-employed, you pay taxes. You look at your tax status to give a clue what might be your employment status, whether you're self-employed or employed. And this will determine whether or not you can get statutory sick pay. So if the HMRC says your client isn't self-employed because they pay income tax and national insurance contribution, your client could use this to argue why they should get statutory sick pay. This evidence in favor of your client, in favor of an employee who is facing an employer who is avoiding paying a sickness pay, statutory sick pay, to their employee, claiming their employee is self-employed. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think about this situation. How would you go about addressing this problem? Most likely you will look for help from professional, or you can help yourself to talk to your employer. There is a type of empowerment if you help yourself. Also, you should warn your client that an HMRC employment status check might show any underpaid income tax and national insurance contribution. HMRC might charge your client and their employer for any contributions owed. Leave a comment below. In a situation where somebody employed checking information from the tax office, and then the tax office finds that they are paid less income tax and national insurance, and it backfires on the employee and also on the employer. And so these are some of the things you need to take into account. I'll leave a comment below, let me know your thoughts also. So if your client earns below the thresholds for income tax and NI, and at least £123 per week on average before tax, they can still get statutory tax sick pay. So we are looking at a figure of earning of at least £123 per week on average before tax. This is gross pay, and they can still get statutory sick pay. So your client will need to satisfy all the other SSP eligibility rules, like as we discussed in the other videos about eligibility criteria, or also the rules involving statutory sick pay. Stay tuned, continue watching, leave a comment below, let me know your thoughts. Also subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed. Subscription is free, but it helps very much to help to support content creators. It takes seconds, it doesn't take long. You don't need to fill out forms, you just click a button. In the same way you would click like, you click share or anything. That's how you also subscribe. It's so easy, it's so convenient. You just click a button, within seconds you are subscribed. You can also unsubscribe if you are in a bad mood, but subscribe in the first place if you're in a good mood, especially if you're in a good mood. But even if you're not in a good mood, do something nice with your life, because you see, bad moods don't last every day. Because you may be in a bad mood today, then you don't have to do something nice or something good because you're in a bad mood. Or next time we meet again, and we'll see what we can do. So you might also you might be in a situation also to get statistic pay if you are a construction industry. A construction industry scheme, CIS worker, a construction industry scheme worker. That is a licensing program for construction workers. So when you talk about industrial scheme, you mean there is a licensing. They are professionally trained and accredited to work as industrial workers. Construction, specifically construction worker, as in terms of industry, as in the construction worker, maybe building or whatever. So a contractor also working, for an umbrella company on the IR35 scheme. So if you don't work directly for a certain employer, and you are actually a subcontract, and you are subcontracted working under umbrella of a company on the IR35 scheme, leave a comment below. Let me know your thinking. Then you can be eligible. You can qualify for statistic pay. You can be paid. So if you are in a situation whether you are either of this and their employer said if you are if your client is either of these and their employer says they can't not get statistic pay, they will need to ask HMRC for a ruling on whether they are eligible. These are specific information. You can also check for employment status for tax purposes on gov.uk. Thank you so much. Stay tuned. Continue watching.
Some see the original, mighty the god, the magical radical. Hey, representing my magical. Young Jose, come milli. Amigo wacha, that difta. You know teach me ni kenyu amigo kopa. That wacha, you know damage me ni kenyu amigo wacha. That difta, you know teach me ni kenyu amigo kopa. That difta, you know damage me ni kenyu. Come to the camera, there. Come on, there we are there for the bed. We have a day, you're my baby. Every day I call you, my door, you're my treasure. Baby, got no machina, yo. Baby, quackano, but it's about some cola. Baby, got the machina. Baby, got no quara. You must say bandana. You must say bandana. You must say bandana. Baby, got no tema, come and quackala. Whatever, quackala. Whatever, put it on my baby.
So sometimes you are a part-time or an agency worker. You work part-time or you're an agency worker and you are sick and you are faced with a situation where you might you would be expecting to be paid a statistic pay, and so if your employer takes off tax and national insurance from your pay and you earn at least 123 pounds a week on average, you can get statistic pay. This information we saw in the other segments. So you earn a certain amount of money. It's not automatic that if you're working part-time or actually an agency worker, it doesn't mean automatically that you don't get statistic pay. This is a very important information. So if you earn a certain level, at least 123 pounds a week on average, you can get a statistic pay. This includes if you work part-time, if you're on 0-hour contract, if you are on a fixed-term contract. Sometimes you are on we work part-time sometimes you're on 0-hour contracts, sometimes you are also on a fixed term contract. And these you can get a statutory sick pay if you earn a certain if you earn on a certain threshold. For example, 100, at least a minimum of 123 pounds a week on average. You can get a statutory sick pay. So if you get a sick when you are attempting means you are a temporary worker and can't go to work, you might be able to get statutory sick pay until your job ends. So if you're working as a temporary worker, you're working temporary, and you get sick, you might be able to get a statutory sick pay. It's a case of checking all the information. Temporary means at some point you're on a fixed term contract, which means at some point I don't know how long, and sometimes if you're working as a temporary staff, you can work only for 1 day, or you can only work for 3 days, or for 1 week, or for 1 month, or 3 months. You're on a fixed term contract, and that is a temporary situation. So if you agree, if you agreed to do another job, you might get a statutory sick pay until the end of that job as well. So you might get a statutory sick pay until the end of that job, and if you agreed to do another job, you might get a statutory sick pay. And agreeing to do another job, and which means you are doing one job and you are actually agreeing to do another job, and you might get statutory sick pay if you are sick also. Statutory sick pay is related to sickness. But if you agree to do another job for whatever reason, most likely because you are sick, and as a sick person you might be able to do some type of work, like you may be working remotely or something like that. And you might still, if you are sick to the point where you can no longer work, even if you had agreed to do another job, because sometimes you do one job and you agree to do another job, and you are falling sick. All this complexity can occur, and you have to try and resolve it one way or the other. You can still get statutory sick pay until your job ends, and also until the end of that job. Also, when you get one job or another, until the end of that job, you can get a statutory sick pay. That might mean that when the job ends, you might stop getting statutory sick pay. Stay tuned, continue watching, leave a comment below. Thank you so much. So if you don't have a job when you get sick, you can't get statutory sick pay. So apparently, if you don't have a job when you get sick, if you don't have a job and you get sick, you cannot get a statutory sick pay, because statutory sick pay is for people who were working when they fell sick. So if you fell sick when you are working, you might get statutory sick pay, but if you're not working and you fall sick, you're not going to get a statutory sick pay, because because that is what it says. That is what it is. So leave a comment below. Let me know under those circumstances, because maybe if you're not working, that may exclude when you're on holiday, because when you're on holiday, it means you are in work, but you took authorized holiday. But if you are not working, you are not going to get statutory sick pay. If you are on a 0-hour contract, also you can check. You can still get statutory sick pay if you are on a 0-hour contract. We discussed in some way a 0-hour contract. By the grace of God or otherwise, we may be able to talk more about a 0-hour contract. So you should ask your employer for statutory sick pay. Sometimes people wait to be given one thing or another, like statutory sick pay. You are sick, you just walk away. hoping that your employer is going to pay. So it is normally much better if you discuss, I'm actually sick. I want to know if you're going to pay me Saturday sick pay. I just want to discuss about Saturday sick pay because I need to be aware whether that is going to be paid, and you might say something like, oh yeah, we are going to look into that, and whatever is available for payment, we will implement that, or they may say something else. So they might say you don't have any qualifying days. So there are certain things called qualifying days. These are your shifts that are on the same day from week to week. So you talk about shifts which are on the same day from week to week. If you have a shift which starts on Monday, every week it starts on Monday or on Tuesday, or from you talk about shift every week. Maybe you're on a 0-hour contract and the shift is scheduled to start on the same day, or they don't talk about when it ends, but it said when the shift starts, maybe on every Monday. These actually these determine qualifying days. So they might say you don't have any qualifying days. So I don't know what that means in practice. Leave comment below, let me know. So you can also check out to work out your qualifying days to get statistic pay. So things like qualifying days, these are things you look at really. You should make a list of when you have recently worked. Write down any days in your week shifts that have been the same from week to week, your qualifying days. So you should make a list of when you have recently worked so that you don't forget. Write down any days if your weekly shift, that have been the same from week to week. So you write down any days in your weekly shift that have been the same from week to week. Like I said, basically, if it is Monday, you write it down in 1 week. It's like this week you worked. When did you start work this week? I started work on Monday, so you write it down. So you write down days in in your weekly shifts. So your shifts are scheduled every week. You write the shifts. You write down the shifts. If the shifts have been the same, the ones which are the same every week. So if you work this week and you work next week, if the shifts are the same, maybe you work 5 days, maybe 3 days, beginning from Monday to Wednesday. Monday this week you work the same set of shift. This week and the next week and the other week, you write it down. These are your qualifying days. That is what the meaning of qualifying days. The weeks which are the same in their patterns of shifts, writing them down is to provide evidence when you need it, because your employer may not really, they may have it, but they may not be willing to get it out for you. So you should be your administrator. The employer should be your administrator because you are working for them. You are their customer in a sense. Even if you are an employee, in a sense, you are their customers. That's why they are the HR and the admin team are there to serve you as an employee. I mean, if you want to know some information relating to your work, you go to the reception or to an administrator. look at some data or something like. So in a sense, you are their customer in terms of customer service. But these are some of the things we look at, the telltale signs, if you want to see it that way. To paying attention to qualifying day, especially if you're relating qualifying days to allow you to get a certain sick pay. So for example, you might have worked on Tuesday and Thursday every week for the past 8 weeks. So there's a pattern. You have been working on Tuesday and on Thursday this week and next week, and like consistently you are, patented. You might have worked on Tuesday and Thursday every week for the past 8 weeks. So Tuesday and Thursday will be your qualifying days. The question arises: what if you work on Tuesday this week and it hasn't been 8 weeks, maybe for 3 weeks, you've been working in on Tuesday and Thursday for maybe for 3 or 4 weeks, and then the employer makes you work Tuesday and Friday for another 3 weeks, and then maybe another set for another week, because the information says maybe for the past week, the past 8 weeks you have been working Tuesday and Thursday, and this will be your qualifying days. You can look back more than 8 weeks. How about less than 8 weeks? Can you look less than 8 weeks and still qualify for certain sick pay if you're on a 0-hour contract? So these technicalities can be taken into account when you're trying to deal with this problem in one way or the other. So you can look back for more than 8 weeks if you think it will help your case. The more the merrier, as they say. So there are no rules on how far back you can look. So because we talk about 8 weeks in terms of information interaction, then you are asking yourself, what if it is less than 8 weeks? What are you going to do? Are you going to have a qualifying period? This is something you can ask yourself, or do more research. So if you and your employer cannot agree on your qualifying days, you can check what to do if your employer refuses to pay you sick pay, or under these circumstances you go online and get more information about this, or get professional advice unnecessarily. So we look at the legal definition of statutory sick pay. I hope this is going to help immensely. So statutory sick pay, SSP, is the minimum amount employers must pay to employees who are off work because of illness, disability, industrial injury, or disease, investigation of possible illness or disease, or are by law prevented from working in order to prevent the spread of certain infectious disease like COVID-19, for example, or whatever is the case. So is the minimum amount employers must pay must pay. So you see, if you look at this situation of these payments from which are either directly from the government or supported by employers who are private companies, and they are not public companies, but whether they are private companies or not, the law allows statistic pay to function, and as much as it looks really helpful on public information or whatever other information, you would see that the level of pay, however you look at it, national minimum wage, sick pay, maternity pay, benefit of one kind or another, you will always draw one conclusion for the purpose of this program, that pay in the United Kingdom is low by intention, by government design, and it is a political problem. other than economic problem, because Britain is the 6th richest country in the world, which means apart from bad politics occurring in Britain, the British people could get more in their pay when they work, when they are sick, and also when they are not working, where they would qualify for state benefit, as we discussed elsewhere. So the problem is always low pay. The problem is always the complexity, the fractious nature of employment law, employment rules, which increasingly is designed to oppress people who are on the receiving end, which are employees, who are employees by their nature, are the poorest in society. There is a group of employees known as the middle class. The middle class, if you are paid maybe 300,000, 400,000 pounds per annum, maybe you can access a lawyer to help you with employment problem. But if you earn maybe a net of only maybe a month, probably in a month, probably you earn only 1,500 per month, and you have almost half of that goes to pay rent and also all the taxes. What are you going to do? You can't afford to pay for a lawyer. If you are having a dispute with your employer, you're on your own. These are some of the things. If you are a member of parliament, it is best if you develop the habit of engaging with your member of parliament, develop the habit of doing independent studies, empowering yourself on issues of employment. The employment is really important because it is the fundamental source of income in the United Kingdom and anywhere in the world. The other aspect of income source is a benefit, is money given by the UK government to people who, for one reason or another, is in need of such help. I have discussed this, we'll be discussing it again maybe in the next 2-3 years, but now I'm talking about employment. The reason I'm talking about employment is to look at the facts and evidence of around pay. I'm most interested about pay, but also condition of work, which makes it very difficult for British people to work effectively. And I think this is a political problem, because in the United Kingdom and elsewhere, technology is increasingly taking away work, which government needs to address the prospect of British people and the people of the world being unemployed. But you see, the politics is so bad that the government will not be able to look after the British people. And the question now arises, if technology matures, which it is now, we are talking about 3D printer being tested as I speak to build houses. I think here in the UK already, there are a group of community building. The whole estate is now being built by artificial 3D printer. And I've been talking about these things. Now it is happening in practice. In the UK, it's now being piloted. So maybe in the next 10 years, builders, people who build things, constructors, will struggle to find work. Stay tuned, continue watching. Thank you so much.
Yellow banga, bindo ebere kola.
continue talking about work in the United Kingdom and talking about pay, talk about statutory sick pay as part of sickness pay, because there are different types of sickness pay. Sickness pay is part of pay. When you work for a living, you get paid. And I've been talking about the level of pay as in salary, national minimum wage, and which is a major problem keeping the British people in poverty. But there is an increasing problem to do with employment, which is going to be taken away by technology. In my opinion, that would have been a good thing, because it releases us as a member of society to take a break and do other things, maybe do research, discover different things, maybe do different things with your life. This is the future, and the machine, if we use it peacefully, is going to help us in many ways. But the signs are, unfortunately, that the government and the state and the people who are in power are becoming increasingly very violent. So there's a risk of weaponizing wealth, weaponizing everything, including power. Power is not supposed to be weaponized, it's supposed to be utilized to bring peace. That is why power is very important. If we get it, we use it for peaceful purposes. But if we do not understand the principle and also processes of peace, then we weaponize everything. Everything we touch turn into dangerous things. Even nanotechnology become very dangerous. But as a tool for peace, it can be a miracle working technology. Nanotechnology can cure any disease, more or less, because if you combine them with artificial intelligence, the sky is the limit with technology. But what if we do the opposite? We weaponize it. And my worry, seeing now, even now, when we call ourselves civil, we are still have war in the Middle East. We still have war in Ukraine. I mean, if we don't stop, if we don't really, we are still talking about immigrants. You know, we still talk about poor people being the problem, being criminals. We are, you know, when you see a poor person on the street, or a black person on the street, if you're in a white country, automatically you are suspected of being a criminal. If you're a white person, if you're a rich person, you know, not if you look streetwise, prejudice. Even if you're a white person in a white country, if you look as if you're from the street, it doesn't matter how rich you are, people will see you're a thief. A criminal or a robber or whatever, a murderer or something. So we are work in progress as a species. Humanity is work in progress. So we need to figure out what we're going to do going forward. I'm straight a little bit. I was trying to talk about work, statistic pay in particular, and we just look at the legal definition. So if you work, if you can work out, if someone qualifies for statistic pay, so entitlement to statistic pay is based on Social Security law. Let me call them law if you know Social Security law. I don't. I haven't really seen Social Security law as a package. That's what I'm talking about. I just know in bits. That's not how to know Social Security law. If you know from back to back, as you know, as a body of document, you have read it, you have mastered it. So they will refer to you as a Social Security legal expert or Social Security lawyer, and if you know it. So entitlement to statistic pay is based on Social Security law rather than employment law. We have two types of law: employment law and Social Security law. Social Security is to do with welfare. Like I said previously, a lot of employment. Employment is in my opinion, is mainly about economic. It's about the economy, about development, and the economic aspect of the development. But I also say employment is also part of welfare, and that's why things like payment, sick pay in particular, statutory sick pay in this case, it's a type of welfare which is part of employment. But in terms of the legal infrastructure, also in terms of entitlement to this is actually under social security laws. Social security laws govern entitlement to certain benefits, and that's why I also said in the other segment of this information that complications such as sick pay should stop. The government should really scrap it, because they should. If you're sick, you leave work, you go straight to Department of Work and Pension in the UK, and then you get your statutory sick pay if you want, or just you get straight into benefit like universal credit. And the system of benefit should be simplified. What matters in terms of reform is to raise the level of, it doesn't matter what you call social security benefit, the level must go up. It doesn't matter who provides it, because this is a social security function, statutory sick pay. It should be paid by the Department of Work and Pension, but for reasons only known to government, I think it's a political problem. And we see it with the gas company, with the electricity company, with the water company. There are now type of social security functioning benefit which are being provided by local authorities, the local government, in other words, which should be provided by the Department for Work and Pension as a social security function. They also, energy company which are private companies. Most employers are private companies, and this distortion of public service and also public service provision, I think, is motivated by politics. It makes the system extremely complex. It is like the work of a nasty alien visiting this earth with a vengeance to make sure the human species suffer to the maximum. I think some politicians and business captains, people who are in power, I think many of them are now aliens who have a lot of power, who are, I will avoid to use this word, they are terrorizing. Because if an alien comes and then they are really in a bad mood, aliens visit Earth and they look like humans. They change, they have superior technology, they change how they look. You meet somebody, selling, what do you call them? A cashier. A cashier in the supermarket selling grocery. Hi, how are you? They are humans. They dress like humans. They do everything a human does. But they are aliens. They just transform. They look like aliens. We don't even know it. You can even get married to one, have children with them, and your children will be aliens. You won't even know. Aliens are so nasty. They can smile and bite off your head at the same time. So there are people with power, I believe, are aliens, because you see the way they come out with policies and laws to run a country like Britain. It doesn't look like the work of a human being at all. It looks like the work of an alien. And they think like statutory sick pay is really very nasty type of law of information. So we will talk about entitlement, even entitlement. So that tells us, the issue about entitlement, whether statutory sick pay it based on social security law rather than employment law, because he tries to separate something which shouldn't be separated. Because if you work, you get paid. I mean, what has payment from work got to do anything to do with social security? Social security is paid to people who do not work. But people, if they don't work because they are sick, you go to a social security sector in the United Kingdom, you find that there are benefits specifically for sick people, like personal independence payment. I don't know who created personal independence payment. They are non-means tested. They are monstrous. I have never seen any benefit so difficult to get. They're there. The government will tell you these benefits are there, but you cannot get them because it's the process of getting these benefits is close to impossibility. And you are like, well, if you're going to give me benefit, simplify the system. Give me one-page document. Are you sick? Go and get information from the doctor saying you are sick. Go and give it to a social security officer, which is the Department of Work and Pension. The government says I'm sick. Give me personal independence payment immediately. I shouldn't have to wait for 3 months. And this is what's happening. And the government of the United Kingdom, I say they are not human, they are aliens. If you really want to help people, you don't behave like that. And policy, the DWP, the Department of Work and Pension, is a terrible place because of this. I mean, if you see the human wrong at the DWP, and also in the hospital, at the tax office, if you go there, they're like ghost town. They are not functioning because the government is shutting them down. They're shutting the system down because of politics. Politics, which is not normal. These politics are actually created by aliens. They are not created by humans. And if you think there are things happening on the earth which is no longer earthly. They are the work of aliens, and somebody in power has been reading a lot of books or doing a lot of study on aliens. They have created a culture, a ruling culture, which is alien. They are not human. If something is not human, it has to be alien. If you come below, if you see, you will see a situation. If you go to the hospital, and including also in Africa, and the government say, "Oh, this is a school. It's free. The school is free," and parents pay more money to take their children to school in Africa, in certain countries also, specifically everywhere. Parents pay more money now than when the government said parents pay school fees for their children. The government comes to a parent in Africa and tells a parent in Africa, this school is free. And for one reason or another, parents cannot afford to send their children to school. In a school where the government has said these schools are free. I don't understand the meaning of free anymore, because if you cannot afford to send your child to school because it is so expensive, and the government says for your child to study in this school, you don't need to pay anything, it's free. Free means free. But that goes for hospital. Oh, this is the government hospital, is free. Then you go, you fall sick, you go to the hospital. I'm talking about Africa, and Africa is the worst continent in the world because of capitalism, because of privatization, because of corruption also. Because you see, the market economy teaches people how to be corrupt, because it's like a jungle. It's a lot of lawlessness, even in the face of laws are in vain if they are not enforceable. You find the problem of access to justice in the United Kingdom, where the government has shut down the legal aid, the system of legal aid. You go on to the government website, you will see that there are legal aid, but it is impossible to access it in practice. You have to go through a lot of complicated process, and to get, you still don't get it for every, like employment, most aspect of employment law, you don't get legal aid at all. And that employment is the most important aspect of law in the United Kingdom because it controls pay. And if you don't get paid and you're working, you're going to die. Because you, right, especially now, you can't, I mean, people who are so poor, people who should be on the government healthcare program, the public healthcare is gone. What they are now doing, people are now registering private, they're getting health insurance. And the frustration of public sector is, the message is on the wall that please do not come to the hospital if you are a public patient. Public patient mean National Health Service, NHS patient. Don't come to the hospital, whether accident, emergency, whether family practice, whether what do you call the other one? All these things, whether dental practice, you need insurance. Dental practice, if you are kind, if you are lucky, you're going to find very, very kind people working at the dentist. They will tell you very plainly, we no longer deal with National Health Service patients, which means NHS patients, which means government sponsored system, which means public, the public healthcare patients, we no longer deal with them. If you want, we can register you privately. And if you ask them, how come you're not taking government patients anymore? The National Health Service, you don't take them anymore. Oh, when we speak to government to give us more funding, they refuse. The government refuses to give us funding. So the government refusing, we can't do, because if we are funded, then we will take more patients. But you see, when the government was privatizing the economy, the government told the British people, private sector are efficient. The people were so excited because the government, the UK government, started by neglecting the public sector. The public sector and the services were falling apart. It was part of the conspiracy to destroy the health sector. Then they told the people, you see, public services really is best if it is provided by private companies, because you see, if you go to a supermarket which is private, if you go to this private, they are so efficient, they are working very well. The British people were so happy. Okay, you privatize it. So now they privatize it, and then there is no funding. And those who have no money are now excluded from housing, from education, from healthcare, from income, because see, employment have been privatized along with the rest of the economy. So the benefit system cannot be privatized. Although there is an attempt to privatize the benefit system, shutting it down from the public sector and feeding it into employment law instead of being social security law element. And statistic pay is an example, because statistic pay, its entitlement is based on a social security law, which is, then why do you give it to a private company who happens to be an employer to provide it? Why don't you provide it as a public sector? Because they cannot privatize social security system. If you go and find computer, the buildings are now private, owned privately. The food, if they are providing food, they don't provide food for anybody. They don't even provide water for people who go to claim benefit. They can't use the toilet facility. These are all provided. The computer being used is provided privately. You see, the social security project the Elscar project is private. It is an empty shell as a public service. So private companies do not provide public service, because public service is supposed to be free at the point of use, which is what the government promised. The government has promised a castle which is built in the air. The castle was a public service is built in the air because it's gone. So going forward, I'm using this information from time to time on a stop and provide an overview, and for people come below, let me know. Stay tuned, continue.
MVC record.
Trumba Jesus on the beat.
So like I say, we're looking at employment law, social security law, we're looking at statutory sick pay, we're looking at our pay rates. In the UK, I've been talking about this, I've been stopping from time to time. So this means the definition of an employee is wider for statutory sick pay than you would usually use when checking your client's employment status. So it's like when you talk about statutory sick pay, then you need to have the skill, the legal knowledge for social security and also employment legal skills. So the definition of an employee is wider for statutory sick pay than you would usually when checking your client's employment status. So employment status is also defined in law, and for mysterious reason, the definition of the word work, the word employee, is giving a wider meaning, and you begin to ask questions. Why is it different? A definition, you begin to see red lights, like I have tried to explain going forward. So it also includes employed earners. Employed earners, anyone whose earnings mean their employer must pay Secretary Class 1 National Insurance contribution for them, or would do if they earn enough. So we have been looking at this. If you earn a certain level, if because it's subject to your paying national insurance tax. So the definition is distorted like that. This means agency workers and office holders, such as police officers who might not qualify for other employment rights, can be entitled to statutory sick pay. So and this is the mechanism which is a form of complexity, which is complex. You need to be an expert, you need to have money if you are in a situation. It is complex to say the least. This means agency workers and office holders, such as police officers who might not qualify for other employment rights, can be entitled to statutory sick pay. So you're looking at certain employment rights, different types of employment rights. So let's say qualifying for statutory sick pay, how it looks like. Stay tuned, continue watching. Thank you so much. If your client meets the statutory sick pay definition of an employee, to qualify for statutory sick pay, they will also have to earn at least the law earnings limit of £123 a week on average. We spoke about that previously. And be in a period of incapacity for work, they have to be sick for at least 4 days in a row, including non-working days. So if you're sick and just sick, even if you are on a 0-hour contract, because automatically if you're on a 0-hour contract, you don't work, you don't earn money at all. So this is now the complexity which distort policy and laws, which create problems other than solve problems. And I would like to say this nonsensical legal instrumenting is inspired by mindless political, ideological what do you call it, manufacturing, which is a problem. So your client must have a whole day of sick for it to count. So you must have a whole day of sick for it to count. If the go of sick pathway through a day, it only counts if they did no work before they left. It only counts if they did no work before they left. So if you work, you might be paid salary or paid for your work. So you see, if you start work in the morning up to midday and you become sick, that day doesn't count because you have social security situation. If you want to be paid such a sick pay, it's like telling cancer to live amicably with a human body, because these are two different things. They don't really make sense for the two to be treated together. But you have ideological insanity or privatization, trying to privatize public service, which is designed for a totally different purpose, and now treating it as a business. So Social Security is now treated, as a type of business. It doesn't work. Healthcare is treated as a business. It doesn't work. These are things created to help people who cannot help themselves. And hospital, which is private, operate in a society where most people are rich. So the political ideology now presumes that everybody in society is rich. That's not the case, because the cost of living, even without the cost of living crisis, it's evident that even if there are technology operating which should make life less costly, it's not really taking effect because of corruption, because of greed, because of hoarding of wealth. And you find the mayor of London with ULEZ policy destroying old cars to artificially make the price of cars high, because you can't drive old car. Technology should not drive prices for old car down so that people can afford to drive. You can maybe buy a car for £10, £20, and a good car you can still drive it, but for political reason, for ideological reason, for reason of need to promote the market, and incidentally or by design, the government has excluded poor people, and poor people do not even know they are poor for one reason or another. And going forward, life is going to be harder and harder. People are going to fail to pay for rent. Government offices will shut down. Computer will, you phone a department and you're going to speak to the machine all day. Your electricity is going to be cut off. Your water supply is going to be cut off. Your gas, you're going to be without energy. and your door lock is going to be or changed automatically by a machine, artificial intelligence, a remote system. If you don't pay your rent, because if you don't pay your rent, if you are not working, I mean, even if you are working, if the employer refuses to pay your salary, you cannot do anything, because the law will not work for poor people. And poor people will wake up one day, they're all on the streets in the middle of winter. And they cannot go to the hospital because the hospital is closed. Public buildings are closed. Roads may also be closed. You cannot move. There may be roadblocks everywhere for people who do not have money. Maybe 100 years, 200 years from now, this will be happening. People will start dying of poverty. Beginning now. There are roadblocks now everywhere. We don't understand it. We may not know it. Instead of traffic light, you will find barriers. You can't pass from one place to another unless you have money. You are a prisoner. You can't even stay in a house. Your home will be closed automatically. You may not even see a human being if you don't have money, because people with money will be staying in another district because they will have access keys. When you have money, you have access to a home or to an area. People who don't have money are not going to have any system of accessing an area or even the supermarket. You will not have food. You will not have medicine. You will not have a home. You will not have a place. If you become poor or the government prevents you from accessing resources, you can die instantly. You may not even appear. You just disappear. You vanished. I mean, maybe there are machines. They will just kind of recycle you in a machine. You just disappear. People will not even know that you have disappeared. That is the future. The crime below, if you think what I'm saying makes sense. Because you see, if you go to a tax office, you go to a public office now, you'll be speaking to a computer. I think it's called, what is it called? I can't remember now, but I know what it is. It's a chat line. If you phone an organization, you find their system or chat line, and you'll be talking to a machine. You will not hear a human voice, and that is going to be happening in hospitals. It's going to be happening in schools. If you don't pay for something, you are not going to get anything, including food and water and drink. And you're going to be evicted from your home. Because you see, maybe I'm talking about maybe 500 years from now. 500 years from now. If you don't pay for anything, you are in a house, you just disappear. You will disintegrate into data, into empty space. Nobody will even know where you are. What happened to you? Somebody will just be, you will turn into a ghost. The reason I'm saying this is because, if you can't speak to a person, I mean, you are kind of like, your phone goes to the machine. Machine's talking to you. Oh, I'm sick. I'm sick. Okay. What is your credit card, debit card number? I don't have money because I don't work. My employer didn't pay me. He may say something like, I don't understand what you're saying. Because they are programmed to deal with rent, artificial intelligence. you're explaining. A human being would understand that you can't pay your rent because your employer didn't pay you. Your employer is not even human. They are system. You work with system. I don't know how you would be working even. Maybe like, because there will technically there might not be even work. There might not be work. So you may not have any source of income. Maybe there will be some type of income given by some type of authority, which is machine. Human beings will be somewhere, but if you don't have money, you're not going to be among them. You're going to be in prison in your own home because of poverty. And that's what I'm trying to say. You just melt away. There are people who will have money, and there will be a society within a society. There is a city of people with money. They will be interacting with people or machine which look like humans. Because I believe there will be a type of machine which you cannot distinguish. You can even have children with them. You can have relationship with them, and you wouldn't tell the difference whether they're humans or not. They'll probably be nicer than humans, living with them. They will be really knowing what to say. They may not even you are upset, they will kind of like comfort you, because they are machines. They are machines, and you don't know whether they're machines. Oh, this person is so nice. They don't quarrel, they don't argue. They are so nice always. They are so understanding. If you're with them, you feel so good, and you don't know they are machines. You even marry them. If they still married, you have children with them. You are their children. Be running around. They may be part machine, part human. What I think is going to happen, there is going to be a symbiosis between humans and machine. I don't know what we're going to do. This is what we are seeing. Because are we humans? Are we aliens? Are we creatures? What are we going to do? And this is a straight way from looking at money. Money which is paid when you are sick. So let's look at work out your client statistic pay on gov.uk. So gov.uk is an internet. You can visit, find out about national insurance contribution rate and earning limits. So you talk about earning limits. I don't know what earning limits. Why should you have earning limits? Earning should be limitless. Why do you have earning limits? So you can also work out. I'm going to stop this material here. We are going to continue to talk about earnings. We're going to look at earnings for purposes of statistic pay. Talk about statistic pay going forward, and hopefully we talk about different things in relation to what is happening in the world and things like income. I said from the beginning, I'm so interested in looking at income. Subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel. Click like, click notification bell. Be nice, be nasty, be nice. We are a small program, so we need a lot of support from everybody who can support, from everybody who can support. If you have family and friends, share the video with them. If you like it, if you don't like it, doesn't matter. Just let me know. And thank you so much. See you in the next one. Thank you. Bye bye.